right, and all these foreigns still get teared back. I'm hanging out with my daddy lost life, and I'm aware that you taught me how to fight, and we ain't got shot. I thought about that shit every night. Ain't got a Glock. I was hot, but I ain't stopped. I just bought your mama's spot and went in out. She was living PHA, and can't nobody kick us out. Scared to show it to your grave, cause I might try to dig it out. Like you know I did this shit for you.
Hey, real quick. Let me tap in. Once again, man, I go by Mr. Check Your Temp. I've been wanting to do this video for a little minute now. Excuse me. So this video, not really video, this podcast. Excuse me if you hear my dog back here snoring. I think he need a CPAP machine. Got to say that. But we're gonna tap in, man. Let me trying to check a few things first. Is it doing it? But anyway, let's dive in it. We're gonna see what it do it. But once again, man, I go back to Check Your Temp. This platform is 365, never-ending fight. And with this what we're gonna talk about tonight, you said I got my fidget because my anxiety gonna be a little high based off the topic at hand. So I got to make sure I got my little fidget spinner. They don't get too emotional. But what the topic is tonight, we're talking about fatherhood, man. We're gonna talk about fatherhood. We're gonna chop it up about fatherhood. The good, the bad, the ugly, when it comes to just growing up without a father. I'm gonna tap into a perspective of my personal experience of why it's important for a father to be in a child's life, right? It's not up for discussion. It's not debatable. It's a necessity. And for anybody who's trying to impede on fatherhood, that's a whole other issue, right? Please remove yourself from the vicinity if you don't have any healthy tendencies to support a father who's trying to be a father. We ain't talking about the bogus fathers that's out there who, you know, if your mama ain't giving you no booty, you don't want to be a father. We ain't talking about them cats. We talking about the fathers that's out there really active, really involved, right? Playing no games about their DNA, right? So what I'm about to do, we're going to tap in and I'm going to share my personal experience, man, of my development growing up in certain environments, situations, you know, fathers. And once again, we're going to jump off, man. I hope share this, comment, talk to me, let me know something. Let me know if I'm tripping. Let me know if you can relate. Let me know what you're feeling like. I can handle it. Got to say that. But let's dive in. I don't want this. Let's dive in. Make sure everything good before I start running off at the mouth. I'll turn it down. We don't need that right now. Check a few more things. Okay, we growing. We say we growing. We're gonna dive in, man. Where we at? Let me put this up. And as I go through this conversation, and I'm gonna use pictures. That's what we're doing. So pictures are gonna help me navigate the topic at hand. We're gonna start off with this picture. This picture There we go. All right, let me see if I can hear. How that sound? How that sound? How that sound? All right, we cooking. For FY, this picture right here is my father, right? So this picture of this young man is my father, right? His name is Leon Simmons, aka Duck. He was a young man, as you can tell. But what was my first positive memory of my pops? I don't have many due to how I was raised, right? But the few that I had when it came to my pops was one. He used to grease my up in the morning before I went outside to catch the bus, right? He used to make sure we was put together before we went outside to catch the bus. That's what he used to do, right? I didn't understand when I work around some of these kids and I see that their hair is not put together, their face is not put together, right? Their energy is off, right? It lets me know, did anybody look in your face in the morning, right? Because my father, when he used to, before we went to school, he made sure that our face was greased up. Hold on, let me adjust this camera a little bit. I think I could do something. Let me try that. Let me see something. Can I see my face? So my father used to make sure. My father used to make sure that me, my brother, my sister, we was put together before we went outside to get on the bus, right? So that's one positive memory that I had about my father. Another positive memory about my father, he used to like to clean up. The crib stayed clean, right? So my father, he left the home maybe about 8 years. I think I probably been like, I don't know, somewhere between 5 and 7. I'm not quite sure 100%. But my father, those really the only positive memories, and maybe one Christmas. I remember one Christmas, me, my brother, my sister, we had everything, right? We had everything that we needed, maybe for one Christmas. One Christmas was off the chain, right? It was off the chain, the Christmas was, right? So that was my first memory, positive memories of my father, right? And the reason I speak on this, man, because when I deal with these young men and I talk to them about their father, the first thing that come out their mouth is, oh man, F that nigga. I ain't messing with that nigga. Right? Due to for whatever reason. But we're gonna go a little deeper with that. I don't want to jump the gun because I want this to flow. But once again, that was my first memory, positive memory of my father, man. As you can see, he was a young man, right? He was 10 years older than my mother. Right? 10 years older than my mother. But that's Leon Simmons right there, right? The big hat, the hat was fly. Got it. You know, always been a spiritual being, got the Bible in his hand, right? He died with the Bible next to him. Got to say that. But let's flow. We're going to flow. We're going to roll with this. I don't want to be on here too long. I don't want to get too emotional. Got to say that. What we doing? We're going to rock this way first. Okay. So we're going to roll here. Boom. Right? What was my first negative memory of my pops? Right? What was my first negative memory of my father? Right? The first negative memory that once again, I think my father left the home maybe about 7. I had to been about 7 years old, somewhere in there, when my father left the house, right? We from Wind Terrace, born and raised, 4878 Winesty, right? So I'm glad it looked like that. I did not know. Okay, boom. So my first negative memory of Pops kind of run deep. Got to say that. My father, look at him, flat out, G'd up from the feet. Got to say that. That's a man right there. If I'm gonna say so much, but that's a imperfect man, right? That's a man with. That's a man with his own story, right? When my father passed, I spoke at his funeral, right? I spoke at my funeral when he passed. I don't want to gun, but the reason I say that is because when I look at that man right there, it lets me know he was a man with his own story. He was a man with his own. He was a man with his own insecurities, right? But you can't sit in his eyes. You can't sit in his posture, right? You can't sit in his eyes nor his posture. But my first negative memory of my father, I told you my positive, let me tell you my negative. My father was domestic, right? My father was domestic. I never really see him put his hands on my mama, but he was very verbal, right? He was very verbal with his domestic tendencies. It ain't even tendencies. I wouldn't even call it tendencies. His domestic ways, right? He was an alcoholic, right? He was an alcoholic to the 3rd degree, right? And I'm speaking from a perspective of a child, right? Now I'm a grown man and I tap into what I learned from all his ways of development. And when I realized, when I jumped in the game of fatherhood and I got old enough to comprehend what it means to be a man, or at least what I thought it meant in the beginning. What I thought it meant to be a man, right? But my father, my negative, he was domestic. He was alcoholic to the 3rd degree. He was a mama's boy to the 3rd degree. I won't call it independent, but he was a mama's boy. But he was loving when he was able to show it, when he was coherent to show it, right? But that's my father. That's Leon Simmons, aka Duck, right? See, it makes me reflect because looking at this picture, he probably was about 25, right? Now reflect when I was 25 in my mind frame at the time. You know what I mean? But that was my negative memory. I have one memory of my father that left residue. The negative part of my father left residue. The positive memories of my father left residue as well. Right? But the negative outweighed the positive because I seen more of the negative when I was up under the same roof with my father, and even when I wasn't under the same roof with my father. Right? So the domestic part, right, left residue on me, right? And I'm quite sure some of his insecurities and other mental things left residue because, like I say, DNA ain't no joke, right? But let's keep it rolling because it's a beautiful thing. Sit down. We're gonna roll. But this is what I talk about when I talk to the kids, man, because for some reason, man, a lot of and I'm speaking from, black man perspective. I'm quite sure that this topic cross all races, right? But when you talk to any boys, for some reason, they so quick to F their father. I don't need my father. But in reality, you can't do nothing without your father. Good, the bad, the ugly. You have to understand your DNA, where you come from, right? Let's tap in here. Let's tap in here. Boom, we're gonna roll with this picture. Here we go. How would you describe your childhood without a father figure present? Right? A childhood without a father is an incomplete childhood. I'm just gonna put it that way. When I work with these kids and I see these kids and I see I can tell your father not around just by your mannerisms. I can tell men who was raised without their father around just by your mannerisms and how you move. It's an energy. I can tell if you was raised by an unhealthy father figure mentally, just by your energy. Right? Now, my father right here, very cocky man. Look at it. You see it. You see the energy. Right? But it gets deep. Right? So when I talk to young men and they tell me, you know, oh man, my father ain't this, my father ain't, I'm gonna keep it a buck. My father ain't shit. I don't need him. But in reality, you cannot be developed into a young man if you don't have an example of a father in your presence. It ain't gonna happen. You're gonna jump off the porch with your mother's emotions. That's what you're gonna do. You're gonna jump off the porch with your mother's emotions. You're gonna jump off the porch thinking that you can talk to men the way you've seen and heard your mother speak to her friends and other men, which did not turn out well. Nine times out of 10, it never does. It will be some domestic dispute going on. So you being developed without a father is impossible. You being developed up under an unhealthy man is detrimental to your mental and your development. Right? So my father right here, like I said, I have short memories of him in the home with us, but I have memories of him because he was living with his mother. He lived with his mother. My father, I ain't gonna jump the gun, but he was living with his mother. And I believe this picture was in his room at his mama house, my grandma. Right? He never really became truly developed into a man. Why? I don't know. Why? I don't know. Right? So growing up without him, growing up without his presence left a hole in my development. I had to figure it out. I had to find a way. I had to make some of the same mistakes and hurdles that I probably wouldn't have made if he was around. Right? So imagine, I'm a father at 18, growing up in Winter Terrace with no example. An example I did get was a very unhealthy example. As you can see in the beginning, I named 2 positive things that I can remember about my father in the beginning of time. I was only able to name 2. Right? I was only able to name 2 positive things about my father. Right? So growing up without him in the home was deep, but just within itself. Right? I remember back in the day when I had to be about 5, 6, somewhere between 5 and 7. And I called my pop, right? I called my pop. Let's say, Pop, we had a Halloween party coming up. And I called him. I said, yeah, can I get a Halloween costume? You know what he say? He say, nah, I asked that nigga your mama fucking. Remind you, I was 7. So imagine that. Right? Imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine you call your father at the age of 5 and 7 years old to ask him for a Halloween costume. And his response to you is, ask that nigga your mama fucking. Do you know what was just implanted in that child's head? Do you know what was printed forever in that child's head? I ad lib a little later. But growing up without him being present in the house, it's impossible. Because you're not able to see a loving couple, for one. You're not able to see how a man can raise his kids, right? You're not able to see the nurturing, right? You're not able to see the house structure. You're only getting one-sided. And my mother did a great job. But we talking about fathers today. Because no matter how any single mother able to hold it down to you could be the singlest mother with the most dough under the sun. But if that father is not present, your child gonna be insufficient, malnourished when it comes to his or her development. You can buy your babies sweet 16 this, sweet 16 that. You can buy your baby every shoe, jewelry, birthday party, trip under the sun. But if that father's not around and you can't pay for that, but for some reason, we try. Parents try. But how would you describe your childhood without a father figure present? Incomplete. Let's roll. I want to. What's the next one? All right, here we go. Boom. Booyah. 21. What we got going down here? What was that question? All right, we're going to go here. We're going to go back to this one. I want to have a picture up when I speak about him because I don't want to forget, right? Say, what parts of growing up felt the hardest without him around? That's a good question. What parts of growing up felt the hardest without him around? Christmas, for one. Christmas was slow. Gotta say that. Christmas, his energy, birthdays, right? Because sometimes I didn't get a happy birthday. I can't remember just me going through school, right? Structure, right? Because the role I play with my son is one of the main reasons I was the father that I was to my son, that I am to my son, because what my father wasn't that to me. So it wasn't sitting at the table doing homework with my father. It wasn't my father did. Yeah, he gonna make sure we put together before we go outside on that bus. He gonna put Vaseline on your face. He gonna make sure your hair combed. He gonna make sure you put together and decent before you go to that bus stop. You would not be able to walk out the door without looking him in his face. So he had healthy tendencies, but he had vices too, right? He had vices too. He had ways where he was incomplete. So since he was, and he grew up with his father, my granddaddy and my big mom, big daddy and big mom, right? He had both his parents. Now, what type of parents is, who knows? The point I'm making is You're not going to get a perfect man, but that don't mean he still don't need to be present, because it takes men longer to develop, right? But what parts of growing up felt the hardest without him around? Like I say, Christmas, birthdays, we felt the financial part as well, even as a youngin. Even though you really don't know what financial position you're in, because everybody in that community is in the same financial position, so you really don't know. And only time you do know is around a holiday, Christmas or your birthday. Because I understood at one point he was here, boom, Christmas was that. When he was gone, Christmas is this. So that's the only present, that's the only knowledge that I had at that time as being a young man. Right? But let's roll. What we got? What we doing? Boom. We're gonna put this one up. Lord, you ain't gotta be snoring like that, bro. You're snoring. I'm gonna put this picture up right here. This one I got a little older, right? Now this picture, I'm old, as you can see. Okay, how old was I on that picture? Looking at that, okay. I was 26 on that picture. I could tell because I bought that watch for my birthday, on my 26th birthday. So I was somewhere in the vicinity of that, right? So that, how did his absence influence the kind of man I became? The absence, now, since I've been working in the realm I've been working in, right? Growing up, right? I jumped off the porch with my mother's emotions, right? You know, it happens. It is what it is, right? Because and what I mean by that, that's only the example that I have seen, right? Besides her boyfriend. So I jumped off the porch with my mother's emotions and with another man's morals. Imagine that, right? So at this stage of the game, I'm 25, 26 years old at this stage in the game, right? I'm a father. I was a father at 19, so I'm 5 years in, somewhere 6 years in as a father, right? And you could tell, look at him, right? He was tipsy on that, right? He was tipsy on that, right? But did his absence influence the kind of man I became? Yes, it did. One, it has influenced me in a positive way because the kind of father I became. The kind of father I became. This is why I say I would rather see two parents break up than stay together, and you do more harm than good trying to stay together. You do more damage, right? So his absence allowed me to remove the domestic violence that he displayed verbally, right? When he removed his presence, right? And when it can, now at that age right there, I didn't realize how his absence influenced me, right? I didn't realize that until I got older, 30s, 40s, right? And I started dealing with different things of realizing and focusing. I'm gonna keep it a bean, focusing on my own insecurities, my own low self-esteem moments. And the reason I had to figure that out because I had a son, right? Let me take this picture down, right? I had to figure media loyalty. All that damn snoring. Ain't that serious. But so I had to figure that out, right? So his absence, he couldn't teach me about his insecurities. I had to figure that out. He couldn't tell me about catching sucker attacks. I had to figure that out. He couldn't he couldn't teach me about how to experience my emotions. His absence did all of that. So this is why I say when I see mothers who trying to impede on especially when you got fathers who want to be around. We ain't talking about them bogus who want to play super stepdad but don't take care of their own DNA. We ain't talking about them cats. We talking about the fathers who want to be present, but you want to keep putting a barrier in a way for your own selfish reasons. Because this is what happens when that man is not around. And we speaking for kids, but we speaking from a son perspective right now. It's all kids, shoe fit, wear it. Right? But that's what we had to do, right? We had to, his absence influenced me on so many levels. I caught a sucker attack. I went to jail for domestic violence at 22. I didn't have nobody to teach me how to respond control my emotions. I didn't have nobody to teach me at that time to, okay, if you encounter this type of woman, do X, Y, and Z. If you encounter this type of situation, you should do this and that. No one told me that. So imagine being in Wind Terrace, blind leading the blind, me and my brother and cousins, we figuring it out. Rolling with the punches. Got to say that. So I had to figure it out because I became a father and I didn't want my son to repeat the same issues that I'm fighting through while I'm trying to raise him. So I had to really put a magnifying glass on who am I? What's going on with this? Why I feel this way? Why I'm acting like this? Why is I moving like this? What's going on with me? My father didn't teach me. My uncles didn't teach me. So it was me and my brother. And we outside on the block trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? But, you know, but that's how his absence influenced me. Because this is why I tell these young cats when I'm being 2020, I ask them, man, what kind of relationship you have with your father? Oh man, F that nigga. Where you at? Locked up. I say, where you at? Locked up. I say, like you need to talk to your father. DNA a mug. You can't deny DNA. Right? Them same hurdles your father jumping, some of them will get thrown in your way. This is the absence of your father. You don't know that because ain't nobody told you that. Why your father in jail? Oh, he shot a nigga. Now you got to ask yourself, why? That sounds like an emotional thing. Or somebody tried to take him up top. That's a decision he had to make. But if you had your father around, maybe I asked him, why you in jail? Or I shot a nigga. Man, maybe you just like your father. But if you had a conversation with your father, now he can tell you how to navigate them same issues. But this is the downside. This is what happened when the father is taking out the picture. You are cheating your kids of his story. I don't care how damaging it is. Look at my father. I'm gonna put that picture back up real quick. I'm 26 on this picture. Right? I'm 26 on this picture. Got to say that. My father should have told me his story. He did, but I get to that. At this stage of his life, he couldn't tell me his story. He was under the influence. To catch him sober is like playing double dutch. You don't know when to do it. Is he? Maybe. But he didn't tell, look at him. He loved me. But he didn't tell me his story. If you go back to his other picture, that confidence that I exude come from being on a block with a bunch of guys. Dutch, Collie, and Hebron to be exact. The confidence that a lot of black men is out here mimicking and moving around with come from being on a block with a bunch of niggas and having to understand that I can't show no weakness. And you wonder why we got the aggressive face every 10 minutes. Because we didn't have an example of what it means. Right? We didn't have the example. Right? But, you know, let's move on. But look at it. That's what he should have been talking to me right there. But guess what? He wasn't developed. He wasn't mentally healthy. What can he teach me? Which he taught me a lot. Now I'm 47. But at that age right there, on that picture, I'm 26, 25, 26. What could he teach me? But at the same time, I didn't need him to be a father no more. So I was around him a lot. I see a lot of young men, I don't want to see my daddy. I don't want to see my daddy. Why? Well, you still need to be fathered, which ain't nothing wrong with it. But once you tell the truth to yourself, you'll be in a better position. Be honest. Man, I miss my daddy. I miss my father. Got to say that. Let it be known. Let's move on. I don't want to dwell too long. What's the next question? Where we at? What we doing? Okay, that's a good question. What did I learn? Okay. Let's go with this picture. We're gonna bounce around with the pictures though. Bo. There we go. Bo. Now peep that cat out. Gotta say that. Gotta say that. Say, what did I learn from my father's absence? When you reflect. Now, right here, I was 36, 7, 36, 37, some 37, 36, 37, one of them, I don't know. But what did I learn from my father's absence when you reflect? What I learned, right? See, at this stage in the game right here, the man, my father was talking, right? Talking on a regular, right? This stage right here, he told me about his sucker tax. He told me about his sucker tax. He told me about his flaws, his shortcomings. But I didn't get that conversation until I was 37 years old. You know what I mean? So what did I learn from my father's absence when you reflect? Let me take the picture down so you can see my face now. But that's my father. We're going to tap in with that. Boom. Ooh, that ain't what I want to do. Let me take that picture down. Boom. Boom. All right. What did I learn from my father's absence when you reflect? Right? What I learned about my father, man. I'm going to tell you what I learned about my father. Man. My father was a fearful man. My father was a fearful man. He had a hell of a vice when it came to alcohol, right? What did I learn from my father's absence when you reflect? Let me think. I learned a lot. I learned a lot. I learned that he wasn't ready to be a father. He ran. He ran from his responsibilities. It made me wonder how mentally strong was he? Because I don't want to, I'm going to tell you something. My mama was young. They 10 years apart. And I know ain't nobody perfect because I play the game now. We all do. We grown now. Ain't nothing new under the sun. Got to say that. That's what he used to say. Ain't nothing new under the sun. But I know he was a fearful man. And I know that there's not a woman that walked this planet that can separate me from my DNA. There's not a situation in the world that can separate me from my DNA. Not a damn thing. Care what it is and who it is. Somebody I made that came out of my body and blossom, you got to kill me. I'm going to get you first. Got to say that. You try to impede on that. And I knew my father wasn't built like that. I knew my father, it was something stronger that had a hold on him versus his kids. And that picture I showed you, he told me a lot about that. He told me about the sucker towel. We used to sit there and put something in the air and laugh about his development. Talk to me about his shortcomings. The conversation he had, I needed to have that conversation in the beginning. He apologized for not being around. He apologized for not being around, right? But I learned a lot about his absence. He was a scared man. He was a mentally weak man, right? I wonder what controlled him, because he was also a type of man that if my mother wasn't still entertaining him on a certain level, he would not be in our life, and he wasn't. He went back home to live with his mama. That's what he did. He went back home to live with his mama when he left from Winters. He went back to College Hill. But when I reflect, that's what I reflect on, right? Now you see the picture of him. That ain't how he used to look, right? I'm going to show you different pictures. And this is why I say the development of a man, right? The development of a man. I'm going to show you the energy, right? Look at that picture. That picture to this picture. That picture. My bad for the pause. I don't know what happened. It kicked. But anyway, the first picture to this picture, right? Right? The difference, the posture that he had, the confidence, the energy that he had. He was younger, right? He was out, he was active. Now he's a grown man. This probably what? If I'm 20, this at least almost 20 years after. This is why I tell young people, man, sometimes we don't know the story of our fathers. We see that picture, and I'm gonna keep it a buck. I see he drunk, man. My daddy drunk, he getting on my nerves. That's what I used to say. He drunk, he alcoholic, man, he getting on my nerves. Me and my brother. My sister used to avoid him. We avoid him, but we always came back around. Void come back around, void come back around, void come back around. Because we really yearned for the relationship of our father, but he just got on our nerves because he was alcoholic. And when he get too drunk, he really piss you out. You know what I mean? But look at the first picture and look at that picture. You wonder, what was his journey? What was his story? This is why it's imperative for fathers and parents to tell their story. How do you get there? And when I say there, I mean he's still put together. He's still G'd up from the feet up. So when I say there, I'm not talking about appearance. I'm talking mentality, mentally, and physically. How do you get there? Right? This is why you need to know the story of your father, because like I say, people die with the memory of who they last was, if that makes sense. People die. When people remember you, they remember you as you last was. So if your father was a crackhead dope fiend, that's how you're going to remember him, man, but you don't know his story. That man could have been a hell of a man. He could have been a hell of a man. But you don't know his story. You know what I mean? You don't know that nigga's story. Ooh, my bad. I'm gonna bust my eardrums. You don't know his story, man. Why you don't know? See, men, we sit around and hide. Don't want to tell our story because we want to have this image, like, look at me now. But when you got kids, you ain't got the luxury to have that image, look at me now. You ain't got that. You ain't got that right. You ain't got that right. You ain't got that right to be that cocky. Your babies need to know. Your babies need to know, how did you get there, Pops? How you get to the stage where you got this, that, and whatever you proud of? How you get there? See, we want our kids just to get there. Nah, you gotta tell your story so they can know the man. Who are you? They'll know who you are. Shh. They gonna make up something. And 9 out of 10, you're gonna be a sucker. Why? Because they see you in a relationship. Oh, he married now. Believe me, I know I raised boys. Oh, he married now. What he don't know nothing. He been out the game for such and such years. They know you the mature you, so they think you a sucker, a lame. But you gotta tell them your story. Because them same hurdles you had to jump, they gonna have to jump. Get out of 10 hurdles, they gonna have the same identical hurdles. At least 6 of them gonna be legit. Just the same ones his father jumped. Mentally, emotionally, physically, etc. This is why when I hear boys and young men, when they say, oh man, she won't let me see my baby. What? She won't let. I'm coming through the door. Ain't nothing you can do about it. You could try. That's the necessity of a father. That's like me not being around my son. I done had situations where I had to get active because somebody wanted to play a super stat dad. Because they trying to impress the woman that he's a hell of a man. So I want to be a hell of a man to your son. No. He got a daddy for that. You look just like him. I'm telling you, man. Let me move on, man. My edible didn't kick in. I don't want to get too emotional. What we got next? Because it get deep, man. It's a beautiful thing, man. Fatherhood is a necessity. The journey, I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't change it for the world. Gotta say that. And if you out here lacking on your fatherhood, man, hey, kick yourself in your own. Go look in the mirror. What we got going on right here? What is this? I kind of touched on it. Let me touch on it again then. How important is it to share your story with your kids? Now this picture right here is deep. Let me look at that one. Yeah. This picture deep right here for me. This picture hit different. Big time. But how important it is, like I just said, it's a necessity. You have to share your story. And with that stage of the game, me and my father, he shared his story. I moved back down from Mason in 2016. June 2016. I think my father died in 2017, 2018, I think. So I was able to spend a year and a half with my father consistently sitting on this porch in North Bend, College Hill, sitting on that porch, and he helped me through my divorce. He was able to be a father to me that he wasn't able to be when I was a child on this picture. Let me repeat that. He was able to be a father to me that he wasn't able to be when I was a child in that picture. 37. He finally was able to do what he wasn't able to do, at least to his youngest. To me, I'm his youngest. On that picture right there, he was able to finally play his position because he helped me get through my divorce. He shared his stories. We laughed. We put something in there. We kicked it. Whole time he was dying. That part. Oh, he was dying. I ain't even know it on this picture right here. Thank God for fidgets. Can you see it? Is it clear to you? Let me put that fidget over there. See the fidget? This is what I get to the kids that I work with when they anxiety on 1,000. He was able to do something that he wasn't able to do on this picture for me. It took 30 years for him to be a father. I want you to see my face, man. Let me get this down. It took my father 30 years for him to be a father on this picture. 30 years. That picture. When I went through my divorce in 2016, my father was able to do something for me that he couldn't do for me 30 years ago. And you tell me it's too late. That's why I tell niggas, it ain't never too late to be a father. What we talking about? What we talking about? I don't care how old he is. I was 37 getting fathered by that man who never fathered me as a child. At all. And he came through and was able to still speak life into me. And I wish I could play the audio. I got a voicemail. Ooh, matter of fact, I can. Look at God. Won't he do it? Quit playing with me. I'm going to play this video, right? Like I said, my father was dying. Hold on. Let me think. I had an edible. All right. There we go. Let me do this. Nah, we're going to go here. Here we go. So this, I'm going to show you something. Let me put this picture back up. What I'm about to play for you, my father was dying right here. And once again, let me put this up. I want you to see this. Because it's never too late to be a father. I don't care what you're talking. Get out your feelings. You got to say that. This picture right here, he was dying. He died a week later after this picture. He died a week later off this picture. And I was able to show him how to use his cell phone for the first time. This is a voicemail he left for me. What date was that? A week before he died. February 18th, 2017. He died in 2017. I got divorced in 2016. I moved back down from Mason 2016, June. Lived in Mount Healthy. He lived on North Bend. I used to go over his house every morning. and sit on the porch. This is my big man. He still stayed with his mama. He died in the bed he lived in. He grew in. But listen, peep game.
Hey, Clark, this is Duck, man. This your dad, bro. Man, we just got in, boy. I'm telling you, it's rough out there. Traffic, all kind of shit. Yeah, you know the flavor. But look here, man. I'm here, man. I don't know what your plans is today, but, you know, I'm here. I'm chilling. Drinking beers. So, like, coming through, cool, man. I'm here all the rest of the day, just chilling. Or I'll come tomorrow. I'll see. Whatever you decide, man, you got your schedule. Stay with your schedule, Clark. Because your dad is always here. Just stick with your schedule. Come and holler when you can. And we'll do one. Holler, man. It's Duck, man. Goodbye.
That right there, a week before he died. And every time I left him, he never said goodbye, except on that, right? Did you see how he parented me? Did you see that? He sent that, February 17th, he died a week later. When we sit on this porch, his brother, my Uncle Terry, he told me, he said, you know what? I wish I could have did better. I wish I could have did better by my brother, my Uncle Terry. He said he followed me around, and I wish I could have did better for him. Right? So he was able, what they call it, repent. Right? Right? That video, that audio I just played was impeccable. As you can see, I still got it. What year is this? 2025? That audio is almost 10 years old. That audio is almost 10 years old. That's what that is. Let me show you something, man. Because I ain't even gonna, now, I'm gonna stay here for a minute. So let's talk about the transition. Now, my father didn't raise me, like I said, but he fathered me right there. So one day I pull up, go put one in the air. You heard what he said? We do one. That's what he said. We do one. Because I used to pull up and we used to put it in the air. We used to blow. Got to say that, right? So one day I pop up over there, got a joint in the ear, boom. I go in there, long story short, boom, go in the door. Big Mom, Doug upstairs. She said, yeah, he up there. So I go upstairs, knock on this bedroom door, boom, boom, boom. I go downstairs, Big Mom, he ain't answer. She said, go make him answer. I go back up there, boom, boom, boom. Open the door. She coming up the stairs, boom, with the key. We go in. He laying in the bed. I say, Big Mom, I think he dead. So I put my finger, I checked his pulse, right? I checked his pulse. And he had a faint pulse, right? His pulse was very faint. Let me get this down. His pulse was very faint. So I called 911, boom, 911, I call him. They say, you ever did CPR before? I said, never did CPR a day in my life. I never did CPR ever in my life. Ever. So they say, I pick him up, put him on the floor, boom. They walking me through CPR. I got a whole joint in my ear. I just blew half the joint. I'm high as a kite. They walking me through CPR. I'm doing CPR. Blowing the breath. Never did it in my life. They walking me through it. I'm doing it. Boom, 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 boom. The ambulance, before they walk in the door, I pushed the last, was it 10? I don't know how many pushes I did. I did the last few of them. I went to go breathe my last breath into his mouth. He blew everything I blew in him back into me. Then the ambulance came in. When I tell you it smelled like baby milk, it tasted like baby milk. That's what it tasted like. And as I was doing CPR, I cracked his chest in. Right? So the same man who didn't raise me, I tried to save him. I tried to save him. Right? But he didn't want to be saved. I didn't know he was suffering. So the whole time I'm going to see him, I didn't know he was suffering. I didn't have a clue. Right? So I do that. Boom. So he passed. But he was able to father me before he passed. He was able to still speak life in me before he passed. He was able to speak life into me. My father took his last, everything I blew into my father, he blew back into me. That's what he did. Right? Even the fathering that he did for me. Right? Even the father that he did for me. He was able to father me right then and there. 30 years, and I finally got a glimpse of what it felt like to have a father. And it took 30 years to get it. It took 30 years for me to get it, but I got it. And I appreciated it. So this is why I tell men, it ain't never too late for you to step up. It ain't never too late to get that 30-something-year-old man or daughter advice. They yearn for it. That's why a lot of them got attitudes. And then they go out and try to find it in somebody else. And they wonder why they dealing with anxiety, depression. They got low self-esteem moments. They got insecurities that they can't overcome. Right? They can't stand rejection, codependency, trauma bonding. That's where that come from. But if you don't know it, right? And I don't care, like I say, scratch what type of parent you was. You ain't got to, it's not something of a perfect parent. You could be the biggest dolphin under the sun. That don't mean that your son and your daughter don't need to hear that word. Give them the word. They yearning for it, especially if you ain't ever did it when they was younger. That's like music to their ears. Man, we sat down that step, man, North Bend, man, we shot the Bobo. We shot the Bobo hard. You see that? You see my slogan? The fight of your life will take some coaching. And you are the coach as a father. Start coaching your kids. Don't wait till they 30 to get coached. But guess what? If that's how long it takes, tap in. Don't let nobody make you feel inadequate if your money funny. Because I know this ain't about that. But I know it's a population out there who think because your money ain't right, you still can't be a father. The most valuable thing as a father is your energy, is your story, is your presence, is your DNA, is your love, is your protection. And if anybody try to impede on that because they feel that you're not financially, you can't buy the Jordan, you can't buy this and do that. Yes, don't get it twisted. It is a big financial need when it comes to being a father. But the biggest need is your energy. That's what's going to pay dividends. Your presence pay dividends. That child support going out the roof. That child support going downtown. That child support going to go to somebody's forehead, somebody weave, somebody nails. And some of them are going to trickle down to the babies, hopefully. But your presence is what your kids get. Your energy is what your kids get. That's what they benefit from. And that's what they needed. They yearning for it. Look at the streets. You got a bunch of, let me stop, I'm emotional. Where my fidget? I dropped my fidget. So I'm gonna ride it out there, excuse me. But that's what we see in the streets. A bunch of fatherless kids running rapid. That stuff up in Chicago. Ain't a father in sight. And you wonder why these kids are getting down, how they getting down, because guess what? I'm gonna keep it a buck. Some mother shouldn't be take an ice cream scoop and dig it out because they shouldn't be able to use it. Don't drop your responsibilities because the father know it in void. That's a decision you made. Your duties is still there. But that's what it is with that man right there, man. That's a man right there. I'm looking at a man that didn't know, that found out late. Ooh, we got to say that. It's a segue. That's what I see. And this day right here, and this day, off the meat rack. This day, that's his funeral day. That's 2 weeks after that picture I just showed you. 2 weeks. Man, and guess what? That's my DNA. That's my son. Can you tell he was raised by a father? He was raised by a hell of a man with scar tissue and imperfections and insecurities and deal with low self-esteem moments, but could you see it on him? Now look at my son. His energy is 10 times better than mine. He's 16. No, he wouldn't. He 18. Matter of fact, he was just coming home from Bowling Green. Right? 18 years old. Can you see the energy on him? You see what I'm saying? That was my father's funeral. I spoke at my father's funeral. I'm going to tell you what I said about my father at his funeral. Excuse me. I got up there. And one thing I did say, man, you can never judge a man on his journey. I say because you get a lot of these grown men hating their daddy, avoiding their father, then they turn around and do some of the same thing that their daddy did to them. And you tell me why you don't need to hear your father's story. Because you so naive and caught up in your own bull that you don't even realize you just like your father. You know, do you know how long it is for when men run away from their DNA? Because when you stop running from your DNA, that's when you're going to feel the love. And you running from your DNA because you coming off the porch with your mother's emotions. Your mother felt about your father. God forbid she bashed you in front of you. But you running from your DNA. You can't. This was my father's, this was his burial site. Look at the cemetery behind me. Right? So my son, now when my father died, it was detrimental because how it happened, right? It scrambled my eggs. Would they say this is your brain on drugs? His death scrambled my eggs. Just how it went and how graphic it was for me. But I learned a lot about a man. I learned a lot about a man. I learned that you die what you last is. And if that didn't make sense, because I went to Cincinnati public school system. But you die what you last is. That's how they remember you. But this is what ticks me off about men who want to avoid their father. You're going to be crying on a rock. Destiny. When you got time today to call your daddy, pick up that phone and say, man, what's up with you? What you got going? What you got going? Ask him, talk to him about your story before you be crying on the rock. Ask his story. Maybe he's not mentally, but you now you are the healthy being of him. You are the Pops 2.0. So you might have to go to him There's nothing wrong with going to him. Because as men get older, our energy depletes. Things slow down. Life didn't happen. Life happened to him. So you might have to be the one to say, Daddy, what's up, man? Let me pull up on you. Let me put some in the air in you. Before you found yourself on a rock crying, when you finally get involved with women, well, why your daddy wasn't around? Asked him why your daddy wasn't around. Asked him. But see, what's wrong with young boys is, boys, they don't want to know the truth about their mama. See, the sad part about it is when they get involved with a woman and as they get older and they hit about 30, 25 to 35, then they realize by that time, damn, daddy wasn't tripping. Daddy wasn't tripping. Daddy wasn't tripping. But it's too late because now you're on a rock crying like a sucker. Now you crying like a sucker because you didn't give your father a chance. You didn't ask them questions. You didn't ask them questions. I'm telling you. I used to tell my son all the time, you need to know your father. I told my son my story. I told my son my story. I tell him my story every time I talk to him. He get a piece of me. He know all about my insecurities. He know everything. He know everything. I didn't keep nothing from him. Do he look like he been lied to? Look at his face. Do he look lied to? I can't lie to that man. What purpose I got if I don't tell him everything about me? I'm gonna give you an example. He got with a young lady back in the day. And when I met the young lady, boom, I peeped the energy, boom. Then I say, you know what? He about to move in with her. I say, you know what? Don't put your hands on. You say, why you say that, Daddy? I say, because you domestic. You got domestic tendencies like your daddy. And you got a woman that's going to pull it out of you. She going to pull it out of you. Yank it out of you. And if you can't explore your emotions maturely, you gonna do something you ain't want to do. And years later, he told me, eventually, once everything was said and done, he said, yeah, you was right, Daddy. What I'm gonna lie to him for? I know who I am. I know all the imperfections of me. And I know him. He's a newer version of me. But this is why I tell y'all, man, I ain't gonna be on here too long. I've been on here long enough. I'm tired of talking. Hold on, let me get this down. But I'm gonna play that video one more time, man. I got to. What I'm doing. All right, here we go. I want y'all to remember, I want to see, I'm gonna leave a picture. This picture. This is the picture I'm gonna leave y'all with. This the picture I'm gonna leave y'all with. But my father, hell of a man, right? All the imperfections. Because the thing that stuck out to me was his energy. Right? I saw the imperfections in him, but I was able to feel his spirit. Right? His spirit told me everything that I needed to know. Right? And when I tell you, he was about 25 right there. When I tell you, I'm gonna let it go one more time. When I tell you, he was able to father me. Listen to him. Look, I ain't father me.
Hey, Clark, this is Duck, man. This your dad, bro. Man, we just got in. Boy, I'm telling you, it's rough out there. Traffic, all kind of shit. Yeah, you know the flavor. But look here, man. I'm here, man. I don't know what your plans is today, but, you know, I'm here. I'm chilling. Drinking a couple beers. So like coming through, cool, man. I'm here all the rest of the day, just chilling. Or I'll come tomorrow. I'll see. Whatever you decide, man, you got your schedule. Stay with your schedule, Clark. Because your dad is always here. Just stick with your schedule. Come and holler when you can. And
we do one.
We'll do one. holler, man. It's Duck, man. Goodbye.
That's deep. I'm gonna tell you something, man. I'm so proud of myself that I came a long way. I came a long way. I ain't gonna hold you. I came a long way to be able to hear that and don't cry. Ooh wee. But like I say, man, I'm gonna leave y'all with this, man. I ain't gonna dwell too long. I've been on here long enough, man. But just appreciate your father, man. Daughters too. Kids, period. If it take two to bring you into this world, make sure you tap in with both parents. I don't care what the situation is. I don't care the narrative that your mama painted. I don't care nothing about that. Yes, once you become of age and you don't need nobody to take care of you financially, go check in with your father. Because the only way you should be still mad if you still need him to buy you something. Because once you defend for yourself, go tap in and see the other part of your DNA. You get two genes, one from your mama, one from your daddy. That's like walking around with one pants leg on. Try it. Cut the other pants leg off. That's what you look like. That's a great metaphor of you not understanding the other part of your DNA. Stop running from your DNA. Embrace it. If he's an alcoholic, dope fiend to the 3rd degree, so what? Catch him when he's sober and ask them questions and see what you get. I don't care if he's stubborn. Ask him. Because at the end of the day, you share them same genes. They're your size. You got to say that. You share them same genes. So tap in with your father, man. Don't worry about how he treated your mama. It ain't got nothing to do with you. I can care less how he treated your mama. He didn't do it to you. Unless he tried to take you out the game. That's a different story. We ain't talking about that. I'm talking about the fathers that's out here that has a story that's been imperfect, that's been his imagery that been destroyed and manipulated by your mama. This is why I'm gonna tell you something. When men out here, when they having babies and they reproducing, whatever you decide to put your soil, your seed in, whatever soil you decide to plant your seed in, is your responsibility to deal with that. I don't care how goofy she is. You did it, tap in. That's your baby. And I'm gonna tell you something, that's grown men and women, tap in with your father before it's too late. Before you find yourself crying on a rock. Telling myself, oh man, now I understand what you was talking about. Right? But I'm gonna leave y'all with that, man. I'm gonna leave y'all with my slogan, man. The fight of your life, it takes some coaching, man. You know, keep swinging, man. Y'all do me a favor, man. Like, share, subscribe, tap in, share. Let me know if I'm tripping. Let me know if I'm too emotional. You know, could be not. Gotta say that. But hold on, let me put this. Oh, that ain't it. Let me know if I'm too emotional. And if I am, so be it. You gotta say that. And it happens. Oh, okay, then. That's what I should have did. Oops, I did it again. But now there it is, man. I just want to share y'all my story about my pops, man. I've been meaning to do this video, this thing right here for quite some time. I had to pick out some pictures. And I just wanted to share it, man, because I hate the stigma that fathers get, all fathers, every race, every creed. I hate the stigma that they get, right? One thing about fathers, you would never know another true love. One thing about fathers, you would never know somebody who wants you to be better than them and cheering for you every step of the way. And one thing about fathers, as we get older, every energy that we put in us, we put in you. And guess what? The sad thing to say is we knew one day we're going to need some of that energy back. But we raise our kids to go out and blossom, knowing that them same talks I put in you and that same energy I put in you, I'm going to need a little bit of that back. So that's why it's good for kids to come back to their parents. That's why it's good. They live longer. Because when they see you, they see a piece of them. And they look at them like, look at my baby. Right? Because when men get older, our energy depletes. Especially if you don't have a nice team around you where men who have camaraderie of other men. But if you a son or a daughter, tap in with your peoples, man. But y'all go ahead, man. Y'all be easy, man. The fight of your life, it takes some coaching, man. Keep swinging. Yeah. Let me get out of here. I've been talking all day. My mouth dry. I'm going to end that. Boom. Booyah. 21. Ain't got no exit.